All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Conduit. Happy New Year to everyone, for sure. It's good for you all to join us today. We're going to make sure we're good to go before we get started. As you can see, my guest is already here. I want to make sure that we're good so we don't miss anything that she has to say because she's got good things to say. But how are you doing there, Miss Priya?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Love to hear it. That's the energy we want to start 2022.
You were coming through loud and clear. How was your holiday?
Uneventful due to the snow and the COVID, and honestly, the end of a very long and hectic year. So it was nice to have some downtime for me.
So are
Yeah.
you looking forward to 2022? Are you feeling optimistic, glass half full, glass half empty?
I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I try not to have like the end of the year be like the end of the thing, and then we start new, fresh with resolutions because that puts a lot of pressure on you. And as every human being knows, like you have good goals, and then life happens, and then second week of January you like haven't done your fitness plan or ruined your diet. So I'm trying to be a little bit more realistic. Just say, one day at a time. We'll see it through. What
that's
about you?
cool. Well, I tell people, I was just saying, so I do a end of the year kind of recap and kind of thoughts, as executive director of G2 and then kind of project into the next year. And it's like you don't have to wait until the new year to start something new. Like start
Mhm.
now. So we kind of set this date where it gets us in trouble. And it's so unfortunate. It's like, well, no, you can start now. You can start tonight. Just go ahead and jump in and go ahead and do it. And don't put too many things on your plate. I'm a big proponent of smart goals, so that
Mm.
you can try to achieve your outcomes and you can watch and measure if you're kind of moving in the right direction or kind of tweak it a little bit. So, I just encourage people to do that. I've got a lot of things I want to do this year and already doing some of those. So I know that you checked in on one of the cooking podcasts that I've done, and
Mhm.
I did another one last night. I made split pea soup and uh,
Nice.
tried to make an omelet that ended up burning the pan, but it is what it is.
You got a full year to bounce back and learn and grow and really make those eggs.
Oh, Priya, I had about 3 centimeters of burnt egg. I mean, I really burnt it up. And this is a non-stick, quality pan. So, yeah, yeah.
We've all got to start somewhere, and I think for some people having a deadline like end of the year, beginning of the year is a really motivating factor, but it
Mhm.
does not have to be the deadline you think it. I treat my birthday as my personal deadline, so I'm like, all right, that's the end of my year, the start of my year. So maybe yours is just like, I don't know, pick a random date and have that be the day that you aim for.
Well,
Whatever works for you.
if it's my birthday, I got less than 3 weeks, so I'm in trouble.
Oh.
Well, let me make one quick announcement before we get going. Tonight, the severe weather shelters are open. So if you need to get to the cold severe weather shelter, or if you know someone who does, please call 360-373-3000. We are partnering with the county to ensure that everyone is not outside during this time in these elements. So please call before 7 p.m. Today is an activation day. If you want to subscribe to get text alerts, you can text Kitsap SWS to 898-211. Standard message and data rates apply. But please do so, and we'll try to make that announcement as often as we can. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into it. It is wonderful to have you back, and I'm so glad that the regional library or the Kitsap Regional Library is going to come on once a month to tell us what's new in the zoo. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of cool things. So let's jump right on in.
Yeah. So I think I'll start by just saying we are so, so glad to be back in our branches after just about a full week of closures last week due to the snow. It's a tricky spot for us because we are regional, so we cover the whole county, and that includes areas like, downtown Bremerton, where we have enough traffic where the roads are kind of drivable, up to like Kingston and Poulsbo, where I know some of our staff members like couldn't even get out of their driveways. So It's a hard decision to have to close our branches, but for the safety of our staff and our patrons who are going to come and use our facilities, we don't want anyone to slip and fall. We want people to be able to park and walk to their cars. So it was a sad week to be away, but I hope that everyone was, safe and warm at home. And I will say, for people who had stuff they wanted to pick up or things that were due during that week, we totally understand that weather happened. So we don't charge late fees. I will say that again and forever, we do not charge late fees. So don't worry about having something be a couple days overdue, especially if it was weather related. Please be safe. Don't get out of your house unless you know that you can do it safely. If when things are overdue, it's not a huge deal. We won't charge you. We just want to make sure that things aren't lost. So get it back to us when you can. If you haven't had a chance to pick up your holds from the past week that are waiting for you, feel free to come by your branch or give us a call ahead of time just to make sure they're still on our shelves. I know at downtown, we're keeping everything that was supposed to be picked up in the last week for about an extra week, just to make sure that everyone gets a chance to get their things before we send them off to the next person on the wait list. So
that gives me a question. My question is let's say I do have a book that's overdue. Can I call in and recheck it out, or what should I do?
Well, you can definitely call in to ask about it or walk in if you're in the neighborhood. The reason we would just prefer you check before keeping it for an extra week is just in case there's a wait list. So for instance, if you've got a really popular DVD, usually if no one's waiting for it, it'll automatically renew up to 3 times. Our system just takes care of it. You don't have to do anything. So if it's, a book that no one's waiting for, it'll auto renew. But if someone is waiting for it, at the end of your first checkout period, so for books, those 3 weeks, for DVDs, 1 week, it'll want to go on to the next person. So it always helps to give us a call and say, hey, I have this thing checked out. Can you just let me know if someone else is waiting for it? If there is someone waiting for it, we'll just say, please bring it back when you're done, sooner rather than later, in the spirit of sharing. But if no one's waiting for it and you were like, hey, I can't get out of my house because my driveway is still snowed in, can you recheck this out? We'll work with you on that. We're not going to penalize anyone for wanting to be safe, especially in these weird, snowy, slushy times.
So tell me, what is the Librarian reading? What's your first book of the year?
Oh boy. So the first book, I'm working on one that I started before the end of the year. So that one is Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. It was supposed to be the book club pick for the Downtown Bremerton book group, which was supposed to meet last week. So we'll be talking about it at our next session on the 4th Monday of January. I'm loving it so far. So if anyone is interested, it's a really creative, sort of script written book about Hollywood and race relations and Asian Americans. It's fantastic so far. In terms of reading, that's what I'm working on. And then I binged the 2nd season of The Witcher while I was home last week.
That's what I'm talking about. Right. For that.
Pure escapism.
Hey, it's all good. The Witcher is good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good show. So
I don't know. I like fantasy. I like something you can just get lost in for a little while, and then after it'd be like, whoa, just new things.
That's my form of self-care. So I love the movies, and I can go by myself, I can go with folks, but I take it really serious. So I don't want to miss the previews. I want to make sure I have everything on time and ready to go. And it's just great for me. So I love all types of full spectrum of movies. But if it's fantasy or science fiction, things like escapism is really what it is. So not real big on documentaries and things like that, and kind of the harshities of reality. It's like, all right, I live that. So, I need escapism. So, but I did want to ask, in regards to the book club, for someone that's like, what, it would be kind of cool to read a book and have someone to discuss it with. What do you have to do to join the book club? What's the pace of the reading? That just kind of popped in my head. It's like, oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, for sure. So we have them at most, if not all of our branches across the county, and pre-COVID, they were all in person. Our schedule is on our website, but now that, we're in trickier times, I believe all of them are still virtual, if not the majority. And what you need to do is just pick whichever branch you want to attend. For some people, that is because they live in the neighborhood and want to just have some connection to that reading community. For others, it's, hey, this works with my schedule. So this is just the one I can attend. like after work hours, and that's totally fine too. And since we're virtual now, it makes it really easy to jump in on reading groups that maybe you wouldn't have been able to attend in person. So yeah, if you want to attend a group that's up in the north part of the county and you live in the southern, feel free, as long as it's virtual. So we have book kits at our branches for the book for that month, and you can see the books that each group will be reading on our website. They should all have like the tag book group or the word terms book group in the title. So you can search there, or you can go through our calendar and just sort of skim for like Downtown Bremerton book group, Sylvan Way book group, Classics book group. And they'll have a list of the books that they've selected for at least the next few months. And at each branch, you'll be able to stop in at any point leading up to that date and pick up a copy of the book. We do have print copies. We should have different formats as well if you want to listen to your book instead of reading it, because that's just how you do it. Talk to the staff there if you don't know how to access that, and we'll help you get with it. And then on the event itself, you'll just dial in through Zoom, and then you just talk about it. And it's not as formal as you think it might be. You know, we're not going to punish anyone for not finishing it. We're honestly not going to punish anyone for not starting it.
Wow.
The barriers are really low. For instance, if you just really want to read the book but haven't gotten the chance to, or need an incentive to read it, honestly, this is a good opportunity to say, well, I'm going to have an opportunity to talk with some people about it next week. Let me get started.
You got some reading buddies.
Exactly. And we will respect the desire to not have spoilers said. I've led book groups where everyone's sort of dancing around what happened at the end because a couple people didn't finish it. And that honestly helps you think a little bit more creatively about the things that we talk about. And it's not necessarily like, what did you think of this particular plot point or the writing style? But it can be as easy as like, hey, this character reminded me of someone in my life. Or hey, this reminded me of a movie that I saw last year. Let's talk about the connections between those type of things. So it's really laid back. Certain book groups have different themes. For instance, I know we have some that read like classics or like along the different genres, but you can find all that info on our website. Our downtown book group down here meets on the fourth Monday of each month. And this month we'll be reading Interior Chinatown because we didn't get a chance to talk about it last month. And then Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Pick one, pick the other, pick neither, pick both. We would just love to see you.
Yeah, that Fahrenheit 451, that's a good book.
Yeah, it's a
I don't
powerful.
know about the movie with what's his name, who was in Black Panther. But they did a reboot of it.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's okay. It's interesting.
Okay.
But books are usually better than the movies.
I'll say I haven't read Fahrenheit 451 since high school, so it's been a little while. So I might give it a quick reread before talking about it. Yeah.
And do you think there's a few similarities in what's going on now with some of the book cancellations?
There are definitely some common themes that sort of pop up in different periods of our cultural, social growth in different ways. Thankfully, I don't know that the actual act of book burning is a huge thing right now. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. But there's always the topic of censorship is always a conversation that libraries are sort of firmly based in, like because we have a very strong stance about helping people connect to information they want, information they need, and libraries of all different forms get challenges all the time about different types of books or materials that they have, and you just really have to stand firm in your values. So it's important to talk about. Hopefully y'all will think about reading Fahrenheit 451 and join us.
Yeah, you know what? If I can squeeze that in, I think I might join that. It sounds really fun. I never heard of, I knew of book clubs, but I didn't know how they work. Is it really formal, and this is what we're talking about, and like you said, this is the author's writing style, and what are they trying to stay here, and is this an allegory for something else? Just how deep is this going to go, and then can I stay at the pace that they're reading? And so no, that sounds really fun. So if you're looking for something to do, a book club is an awesome one. We will definitely check out the website here before we jump off so we can kind of peruse that. I think the more times people can see it, the more likely they're to use the resource. So what else is going on?
Yeah. So I'm just going to peek at our homepage to make sure I'm not missing anything. The other new thing that is brand spanking new is that we have selected a new director for the library because
What?
yeah, definitely deserves some air horns. So our current director, Jill Jean, will be retiring. She actually pushed her retirement a little bit to help onboard the new director. His name is Jason Driver, and he's coming to us from far away Chicago. Oh, thank you, Ron. Yeah, so we put a little banner, the teal one there, just announcing that Mr. Driver has been selected as our new director. And there's a little bit of information if you click through that banner, just telling you a little bit about his background and where he comes from, what he's excited about. And we are all really looking forward to getting some fresh energy and some new eyes. And, just having new leadership who's excited to take over what Jill has helped us accomplish over the past many years. So,
Wait, did I mention that a hot link? I think I just deleted.
Oh yeah, those little banners at the top, they go away if you hit the X. Marwan, can I share my screen, or would you like to do it on your end?
You know what? I don't know if you can share your screen. You can try.
No worries, no worries.
I don't think anyone's ever tried to do it. See if you can.
Oh, ooh, I might be able to. Oh, here, look at that.
That's a librarian. That's what I'm talking about. Look at that. You get a horn for that. You're the first one to try to do that. That is awesome.
Thank you. We've done a lot of Zoom pivoting this past couple of years.
I love it.
Okay, so I will click through just this teal banner here. And these banners up at the top are the biggest news that you need to know before thinking about getting in touch, or if we're open or closed or not. So you'll see at the top, for instance, face coverings are still required while visiting the library. We do have masks if you need them. They're usually in the front entrance area. So please do feel free to grab one on your way in. We will politely remind you to keep your mask on if it tends to fall off. Okay, and under that is Mr. Driver. We'll click through here. Got a picture of Jason here, and then a little bit about who he is, where he comes from, and when he'll join us, which is February 1st.
Nice.
And our director is based out of our Sylvan Way location, which is in East Bremerton. That houses all of our administration, support, basically everyone who makes KRL run behind the scenes, as well as our Sylvan Way staff. So if you're in the neighborhood at Sylvan, keep an eye out for Mr. Driver here.
All right. But you're not going to lose Lisa, are you?
Oh, no. Lisa is our downtown branch manager now.
All
so
right.
She'll be
Good.
in the neighborhood. Yeah.
She's closer. I love it.
For sure, for sure. So aside from that, we're still doing most of our programs virtually, most if not all, in the spirit of safety. You can find our calendar both in the Inspire Light, which you can see on this little banner down here, and this is the booklet that you'll see in print at our locations. You can come in and grab one, or you can look at it on our website, krl.org/inspire. And so you can actually click through and just see our calendar for the month. It's broken up between adults and kids. And you can see they're mentioned in person or virtual with the date and time. So keep clicking through. At the end of that list, you can find our book group conversations. So these are the book groups that I was talking about earlier. I believe they're organized according to date. So starting at the beginning of January and working our way through the end of the month. Downtowns is toward the end, here at the very end. And then we usually just have a couple extra highlights of programs and services that we offer. For instance, on these two pages, we have Novelist, which is a database you can use to help find reading recommendations or sort of explore elements of books that you've known and loved and try to find new ones. We use it a lot on the library staff side when someone comes in and says hey, I really loved this book and this is what I loved about it. So you can go into Novelist and be all right, we're looking for instance, fiction mysteries that have a female detective that take place in New York City. And because that's something someone has really loved, let's try to find more like it. So Novelist is a really cool service we offer that the staff uses a lot. And so we want to share it out with everyone as well. And the second one over here is Mango Languages, which is a free language learning app that you can get with your library card. So this gives you opportunity to practice, sort of gamifies a little bit. a bunch of different languages. It says they have over 70, which is, wow, that's a lot of languages.
It's kind of similar to Duolingo.
Yeah. So Mango, the main differences I've heard, because I use both. I love both. I like the sort of gamey side of learning. The main differences I've heard with Mango is that Mango sort of is more structured in a like immediately useful language environment. So for instance, if you have a trip planned to Portugal and you want to learn some Portuguese before you go, this will give you some more like constructive conversation based instruction. Versus Duolingo sort of helps build the language from the ground up. So they're both really great resources, great ways to practice a new language. Mango is just a little bit more structured, so you might feel yourself being more prepared to have like a formal conversation after using it. Both you can do on your phone. Both are kind of fun. Both have cute little illustrations. But Mango, it has a really great integration platform with libraries, so you would just sign in through your library card. So that's really cool. Yeah, and so just flip through the end, and then the back of Inspire Light has our locations and hours, and those I don't think have changed since the last month, except for Little Boston here. But that's Inspire Light. You can find it in our branches as well as online. If you want to look at our calendar in a more calendary format too, you can click on Classes and Events up at the top menu here, and it will
Yeah,
show
I just
you.
wanted to jump in there really quick.
Yeah, of course.
Oftentimes, there's lots of different learning styles: auditory, visual, kinesthetic. So I'm actually clicking through while you're doing it because that helps me to remember. So go ahead. I just wanted to jump that in there. So audience, please feel free if you're watching now live or you watch it later, click through because it can help you when you go in a week from now or 2 weeks from now and you go back and look at this resource or any resource for that matter.
Thank you so much for adding that. I'm very much a visual learner, so I need to be seeing it while someone's doing it. And so I like trying to push that a little bit, but I'm so glad to hear that you're following it because learning by doing is better learning. So love it. So here is our calendar in a more, linear form. We've got all of our main calendar over here, different locations if you want to select by location. And then general types of programs. We don't currently have the high volume of programs that we usually would have pre-pandemic, just because they all are mostly virtual now, and we're all busy and burnt out a little bit. So once this pandemic is over, we'll be back to all of the really robust in-person programs that we know and love. But for now, you can see going by date, the different types of programs we have here, all ages lumped in together. Some are virtual, some are in person. You can see the book groups, like I mentioned earlier. When something is canceled, this is a good example. Look at the big red canceled there. It will be plastered on the front of it. But let's click into, for instance,
virtual Lego builders.
Oh yeah, let's do that. All right, so we'll click in here and it brings you to the event page. So this is a kids program. You can tell from the intended audience. You can see that it is virtual and that there's a Zoom link here and a meeting ID. So however you connect to Zoom, whether it's clicking on a link or typing in the ID on your device, both are there. You see a very brief description here and you can see all the dates. So it looks like it is repeating every week on a Tuesday through January and February.
So Priya, if this was a snow event, would this event still have taken place because it's virtual?
That is a good question. The other consideration with staff being able to get to and from the library is staff having internet at their home. And because we are scattered across the county, it's not guaranteed that we will. So for instance, we were supposed to have book group last week of December and internet is spotty. So the staff member who would be leading it from their home, if they can't support the Zoom meeting, then unfortunately it's not able, but it's sort of on a case-by-case basis. Definitely check the website. We will make sure that if it is canceled, it will say canceled on there as soon as we find out. But we should always have it posted on our website, as well as, if we're able to, post an update on our Facebook. So make sure that you, if you're a Facebook user, follow our page and you'll see all of our latest updates posted on our Facebook as well. Just, in
I
case
just
that's
think this is a great activity. You're home. Maybe you can't move around like tonight. The severe winter
Mhm.
shelters are opening, but you need something to do with the kiddos that's different because they're bored, and you can get in here and do this virtual class, which today is the 4th at 4:15. So
Mhm.
just saying.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Well, it caught my eye. I'm like, oh, Layla would love this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you ever have any questions about any programs you see here, or if you're like, "Oh, I can't make it, but can I come to the next one? Is this a series?" Or any questions at all, feel free to call your local branch, especially if the program itself doesn't have a branch tied to it. So, for instance, Virtual Lego Builders isn't specific to one branch, so you can just call whichever. Their children's librarian will get on board and hopefully give you some information. Some of the other programs, for instance, like Kingston Book Group, that's based in Kingston. So go ahead and call the Kingston branch. Others are sort of pan Kitsap County, and that's a really wonderful thing that we've been able to lean into. Now that most things are virtual, we can work from all different parts of the county and sort of meet people we wouldn't usually have interacted with just because of geography. So yeah, so this is our calendar. It goes all the way down onto the next few pages. If there is something you are specifically looking for, you can either scroll through or you can, up at the search bar at the top, click Cite, because this searches our catalog for books, music, movies, all that good stuff. Cite is here, and then you'll just type in, for instance, Downtown Bremerton Book Group, and that'll bring up its program page there.
Nice. I also
Um,
saw that there's a teen virtual events and
yeah.
teen space. I think is awesome. So something for every age group.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can, I believe, you can sort on the side here by different age groups. So for instance, let's select teen and then see what that leads us with. All right. So this is everything that is limited, suggested for teens. Some things we're not super specific about, but for the ones that are set as teen, they're primarily teen focused, although teens are welcome at most of, if not all of our adult programs as well. But yeah, so it's somewhat intuitive. If you have any questions about the calendar or how to use it, or the print version, if you're in our branch, feel free to ask any staff member. We should all be able to answer your questions or connect you to someone who can answer your questions. Yeah, what else do you want to know, Marmon?
Well, is there something really notable this month that you wanted to point out and kind of put on people's radar? I mean, I see a ton of them, like the FAFSA and the WASPA drop-in help, which is super awesome if you're preparing for college or yeah, that's a big one. I'm a big supporter of that.
For sure. Let's open that up and take a peek. All right. So this one is held at Sylvan Way and it's in person. You can tell because it says it's at Sylvan and there's no Zoom link there. But basically, this is for teens who are thinking about applying for financial aid in the near future. You can connect with a trained FAFSA navigator that includes several library staff members who've been trained as FAFSA and WASFA as well, which is the Washington version, specific just to Washington residents, whereas FAFSA is for the nationwide financial aid. So you can connect with a FAFSA navigator who may or may not be a library employee. We work quite closely with Graduate Strong as well. So they have been really great with helping train our staff to walk you through the process of applying for financial aid and all the different details that have to do with that. So thankfully, they do say, please review this link to make sure you bring documents with you because FAFSA and WASFA are very document-intensive processes. Applying for any sort of finances. So just check that out if you're planning to attend. And feel free to call the branch if you have any questions about that. But,
what's also really good here is I'm looking at the bottom and it says add event. So as you find really cool things, you may not remember it's coming up in 2 weeks. So definitely add it. So I clicked on Facebook and it pulled up to post on Facebook.
nice.
But it looks like, Twitter and Google and your Outlook calendar and iCalendar. So you can add it in there so you don't forget that it's getting ready to happen. So I think that's awesome too. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, this is good. Yeah, I want to do that. And it's like, when was it? Oh, it was 2 days ago, buddy.
Exactly. No, I live by my Outlook calendar. So just getting those dates on there is really helpful. And even, if you're in the branch and you want just a written reminder too, like we can give you a little note card that says, hey, it's this time, or just take the calendar with you. Anything to help you keep it front of mind if that's what you'd like.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, we wanted to talk about a little bit on how to actively do some research. Look at that, you got control of the show. And Omicron is going crazy right now, and so there's a lot of uncertainty there, and we're seeing movie theaters closing, movies are shifting their dates. I was looking forward to Morbius, coming out here, and now they've moved it to April, so that's sad. But all these things do impact us, and what's happening, here in Kitsap County. The numbers are up, but in other states, we see that, I mean, it's pretty horrifying, 5 and 6 hours waiting for, tests and things like that. So where can we get the latest and greatest information, aside from, Kitsap Public Health?
Kitsap Public Health.
Kitsap
That would
Public
be
Health?
my first recommendation. As our local public health authorities in our county, they're the ones that we're going to go to, not only for guidance because they are getting it from the state and from the CDC, but also because they have their ears to the pulse in terms of what's going on in our county, specific locations you can go to get your test, get your vaccine, connect with someone who can answer your questions. So I'm sorry to repeat the obvious answer, but that would be my first recommendation.
But you know what? It's not. And what's great is, if you don't mind, if I can, since you do now have controls, as a librarian and as a researcher, what would it look like for you to do that search? So when I do my health podcast on Monday, I kind of scroll through, but it's good to see other perspectives on how people access the information and how you interpret what you're seeing.
For sure, for sure. Let's share our screen again. There we go. All right, so I preempted this and opened up another tab. So my first response, if anyone comes into the library and says basically anything akin to, I need to get a vaccine, where do I do it? Or I need to get tested, where do I do it? Or what's the state of COVID in Kitsap? First off, we're not health employees, so we try to find the most reputable local source. And for us, that is Kitsap Public Health. If you're in Bremerton, they're right up the road from the library, but they also have this website that is fairly intuitive to use. And I'm sure you all have seen this on this podcast, especially. But the nice thing about KPHD is that they've put their COVID stuff front and center in these bright, colorful illustrations. So you can just click right through there. Everything they have that's COVID centric is on this page. One of the really beautiful things as well is that if you need information in Spanish, because we have many Spanish speakers in the county, there's a button right here that will translate all this information into Spanish for you. But the place I would recommend to start if you're interested in anything COVID related in Kitsap, this page right here, you can scroll down and see all the different areas in which you can explore COVID, either from the data dashboards, if you want to dig into the data and see, what actually are case rates, vaccine updates, if you are interested in, let's click through, see what happens. Vaccine clinics that are happening that are run by the county. And I will say also, I've heard from several patrons that it is difficult to get an appointment, both for vaccines and for testing. And you just got to keep trying, because this is important stuff. There are limited appointments, but the more you just keep an eye out and, be very proactive about your health, the better we'll all be. So I'll just say, keep an eye on this calendar here. It looks like they have one clinic tomorrow in their Bremerton location. This link right up here that says, if our clinic times locations don't work for you, there are more vaccine sites available through the county. This leads you to the Vaccinate Washington website. And this is statewide, and it also includes vaccine opportunities that are not through the county. So for instance, thinking about health providers or pharmacies. So that widens your pool quite a bit and increases the opportunities for finding and getting an appointment.
Mind putting in the zip code there for us downtown?
Oh, yeah.
And while you're doing that, one of the things that when I wanted the booster, I called down to the Safeway on Callow, and it's close to the office. And they said, "Oh, we don't have it right now." We called the Port Orchard branch and called a few others. They didn't have it. Then I called back a day later, And it was like, as long as you come in, because they don't want you to come in right before the pharmacy is about to close. So I needed to be
Mhm.
there like an hour before, and I was able to just go in the next day and get it. So sometimes call back because there may be availability. So it
Yeah,
does.
persistence.
Hmm. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Pastor Ellington says right up the road from East Side, which library?
Oh, I think you might be referring to Kitsap Public Health District from the downtown Bremerton Library. So they're located at the Norm Dix Government Center, which is just up the road from the downtown Bremerton Library, but not too far of a drive from the east side. So that is their main office location. But if you're looking for the testing or vaccine clinic sites, those you can find on the Kitsap Public Health website. For instance, on the calendar here, it looks like this one is at the old Harrison Hospital, if I'm understanding that correctly. But all that information is on their website. I think KPHD representatives will be able to speak to this a whole lot better than I will. We rely a lot on the good information and the information layout that they put out as well, because it makes it easier for us to understand as information workers so that we can then pass it on to you. The other topics down here are all sorts of different areas in which COVID has impacted your life. You can look for testing resources, more on the virus itself and how that is mutating, steps to protect your health. You see the mask icon there, but it also is including things like social distancing and just taking good care of yourself. And then some more information down below, sort of per your interest. So they put their most recent updates right at the bottom here, and I believe there's somewhere on their website where you can sign up to get like text notifications, which are really helpful, just as a little reminder every day. So I would say just keep an eye on this page. It's their main COVID-19 update page. It has everything in one spot. Just be sure to scroll down a little bit so that you can see the most recent updates. And I believe they update this, if not daily, then weekly. It's the most pertinent information that you would need to know. The other resources I would recommend if you're looking for more of a larger, like what is the state of COVID, not necessarily in Kitsap, is the Washington State Department of Health. And so this is their main COVID website. It's coronavirus.wa.gov. But you can also just type into Google like Washington Department of Health COVID-19. And so this sort of has, first off, all the different languages that they support, which is quite a few. They have a link to that vaccine locator website we just looked at, and then a link to a page about just vaccine facts. What is it? How will it affect you? What are the differences? Facts versus myths, that type of thing. And then some other information that is a little bit more broad about how you can access benefits. How does this impact my business? If you're a worker who needs time off, things like that. So the Washington State Department of Health has a little bit more of a broader view because they cover statewide, but also along with the actual health facts of what you need to know for COVID-19, all the surrounding areas that it impacts, which is really helpful if you're like a small business owner or you're a parent or an educator or just want to know what's going on.
Man, all of the above.
All the above, all the above. The DOH is a great resource. We get a lot of guidance from them in our local public health districts, and then just also as information workers, like in the library, we learn a lot from what they're putting out. And the last one I'll point out, you all know and love the CDC, because they are the biggest voice in our country about what's going on with COVID-19. On their homepage, cdc.gov, their COVID page is smack dab in the middle. So they have specified the most recent updates. I'm just going to click on all COVID topics, and you will find a whole bunch of good information here, as well as a whole bunch of data if you're interested in data. But I won't get too deep into that because not everyone is. I don't know. A lot of library folks are like, "Ooh, give me the data," but it doesn't really mean anything unless you know what to do with it and how that impacts your life. So those are the resources I would share. Some are. Oh, thank you so much, Mom, for popping that link in there. Yeah.
And I'm
Some
gonna
are
put
some
all
really big
three in there.
things.
I'm gonna put all three links. So this is the Kitsap Public Health.
Perfect.
Then I'll go ahead and put in the second one is for the state of Washington, and I've taken the liberty of putting you like directly to the COVID page. Didn't have to one less click or two. And then here is the CDC link here. So you could bookmark those. And then, just before we jump off of it, I don't know if you're still on the Kitsap Public Health page, or I can just share mine. Either way,
I still got it around. Let's
you still
see.
got
Okay.
it. And if you would jump back in there, and the one piece of data that I think is helpful for people to see, if you just scroll down a little bit,
Mhm.
is the data dashboards. And
Mhm.
if you take note, you can look at on the left-hand side, oh wait, where did it go ahead and click on the first one on the left, the daily update in cases,
Mhm.
and then just scroll down just a little bit. So, scroll up a little there. So if you want help on how to use the data dashboards, there is a tutorial right there. So I didn't see this before, but I thought that was really important to note. So sometimes these numbers can be intimidating. Then you can also see the spike here in Kitsap County. So what you see on the news typically is national news, or maybe the greater Seattle area. But if you want local data, you can see, oh man, it was just right before Christmas. I think our
Mhm.
numbers were 90 per 100,000, and here we are at 464. So I mean, like, you can see the spike there. I mean, that's pretty massive. So a
Mhm.
lot of good information there. Yeah, I just wanted to point that piece out.
Yeah, of course. And like I mentioned earlier, some people are visual learners, some people learn by doing, some people are just mathematic, quantifiable thinkers. And if seeing a number like that and a spike in a graph is what hits home for you, like lean into that. There is plenty of data, lots of people working on COVID-19 and getting the numbers out there, and lots of people interpreting those numbers and putting it out to the general public, because not everyone is a number person. So
Oh
if
yeah, I
there
just
is
locked
any
my
piece of
door.
data, yeah, go ahead.
I said I just locked my door and armed my alarm because the number spiked. I gotta stay safe.
Mm. If it informs how you live your life, that's great. Like the goal is just to get the information out there and then have people understand it, figure out how it impacts their life, and also how it impacts the people around you. This is a time where we all really just need to be taking care of ourselves and our neighbors and our loved ones, and just doing what is best for all of us. Yeah.
Well, can I ask you a challenge question?
Oh gosh, sure.
Well, because folks come into the library all the time, and they have questions, and so and I'll keep it in this here, so we don't get too off. But
Sure.
let's say I'm coming in, and it's like, okay, this thing is kind of going pretty crazy. Omicron was first discovered or started to be reported in South Africa right after Thanksgiving, and now it's here and it's exploded. So has anything changed in regards to requirements for children? And does the safety requirements on how to stay safe, have they changed? Where would I get that information from?
Oh, that's a good question. As someone who's not a public health worker, I'll be the first to say I don't know this off the top of my head, and I would recommend you check with Kitsap Public Health or the Washington Department of Health. Usually, when guidance changes, especially really big changes, they'll plaster it all over their website. They'll put it out on newsletters and text notices and Facebook. You will see the largest updates that will change the way we live our lives will be out there. So I would say just make sure you find a reputable resource and keep an eye on them. Sign up for text notices, get on their Facebook page, follow them on Twitter. If something big is going to change, for instance, if there's, God forbid, another lockdown, you will learn about it from the right resources when that happens. If someone comes into a library and asks me that question, I'm going right to this website and checking. They won't be like, Priya said this. No, I'll say Kitsap Public Health says.
No, and that's perfect, right? A lot of times we're going out, we're trying to figure out information, and sometimes we can get too convoluted. It's like sometimes you just need to kiss it. Keep it simple, silly.
Mhm.
Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. If these are the three reputable sites, then just go straight to that site. You don't have to try to get fancy and go around and go to the left and to the right. And even though you may trust a lot of people, family members or friends, and you may hear information. You can back that information up and do your own resource. I was your own research. I was having a
Mhm.
conversation with another adult, and we were musing about kids today in the learning environment. It's like, oh, just Google it. And it's like, well, sometimes you might need to do a little bit more than Google it. And growing up and having to do research through periodicals and go back and read all this stuff and cite your work and all that. It's just a different time now. But I think that's a good idea. Is like, you may hear something, even if it's from me, go and verify it from, let's say, one of these three: the CDC, the state of Washington, or Kitsap Public Health District, so that you can reinforce that. I think that's sound advice, because it may sound good,
Mhm.
but the telephone game exists also. So it may be information from here, but as they've heard it and told it to someone else, it kind of gets changed a little bit in translation. So go to the source yourself, and you can see how fast from Priya's exercise, how quickly it is to access this information.
Yeah, for sure. And there are lots of good, reputable, responsible resources out there that'll tell you the same accurate, life saving information. But for us, like you said, just kiss it, keep it simple. If the first person you think of with a COVID question is Kids at Public Health, that's a good step in the right direction. You know who to touch base with. They're local. They know who we are. They have people out in the community doing good work. Um, if there's another health district nearby, for instance, if you live outside Kitsap, go to your local health district or hit up Washington Department of Health. They'll point you in the right direction. And if you have any questions, stop by the library. We will likely point you to one of those, but we will explain to you why we're doing it and how to get there.
And what's nice is, you guys have met a lot of them because they've been on the podcast. So
Mhm.
you're talking to someone that you've seen. So, I don't know if you'll get Dr. Gibb directly if you call there, but you may get someone that's in his department that is super knowledgeable and helpful. But and so you
Mhm.
just kind of see that spirit all the way through. Well, that is fantastic. It is awesome talking with you and learning more. I don't know why other people would be as geeked out as I am about the library and all the really cool things. And it's like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Book club and do the Legos with my daughter. And I just see all kinds of things to do. And it's like, I don't even have to think about being creative. All this stuff is right here for you.
For sure, for sure. We love talking to people. We love thinking through ideas with you. And if you have an idea for something that will be good for your community and you don't know how to make it happen, just come talk to one of us. We'll see if it's something that we can help support or help you find resources to make happen on your own.
I think I should definitely put the link to the Kitsap Regional Library in there for putting links in there.
Yeah, that works just fine. I won't say just Google it, but if you Google Kitsap Regional Library, it will show up. Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else for us today? I think we got a lot of good things. And
Ah, nothing super brand new in the next few weeks, but I'm excited to be back next month. I'll share any updates I've got at that point across KRL. But just in the meantime, everyone be safe. Stop by the library if you feel so inclined and say hello. We love to say hi to new people and old people alike. And I just hope that everyone is, keeping on. 2022 is going to be a good year.
absolutely. Well, I definitely encourage you to reach out to your Kitsap Regional Library, wherever they may be. They are super helpful. Additionally, if you want to submit any questions that you may have that you want Priya to answer on air, don't wait the whole month, but you can submit questions here, and I'll get them to her. And definitely, if you want to jump on and ask questions, do so as Pastor Ellington did, because that is the best way that we learn and we get information. But we definitely appreciate the Kitsap Regional Library and all the work that you are doing. And man, didn't know the library was doing all that stuff. So you guys are fantastic.
Thank you, Marwan. It's a pleasure to talk with you. I'm happy to touch base with anyone who's interested. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is Priya. How do you say your last name?
Cherry, like you're sitting in a chair.
Carrie. I was saying Chari.
It's okay. It's one of those names.
Priya Kari. Chari.
Cherry. We'll get
Cherry.
it for next time.
You should have said cherry like the eating cherry. Now you put cherry in there and it threw me off.
We'll remember that. Yes, Priya like the cherry.
Priya Charry. This is your adult librarian here, and she is awesome. Every first Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m., you can check in with us. So until next month, for Priya, I am Marwan. This is The Conduit. All right, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.